Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. Well, it seems there is something about Jeremy Clarkson and a lot of the UK's wealthiest farmers that is absolutely fuming this week. And I don't just mean the exhaust of the tractors that they decided to drive all around London. No, I think I should start by saying that I do have quite a lot of respect and some degree of sympathy for farmers generally. They should be paid a lot more for the produce, and they are treated terribly by wholesalers and supermarket buyers and things. It's almost as if we've just come through over a decade of governance by people who really cared more about Tesco's profit margins and Sainsbury's shareholders and dividends than they did about Farmer Giles and his historic dairy herd. I wonder who voted people like that in. I don't doubt that there are a lot of nice people among the farmers protesting that we saw earlier this week, but the loudest voices and the people at GBBs, and mostly the right-wing media, are prominently pushing for your pity, are not farmers in the usual sense. The people that had £11 million worth of acreage left to them by their late grandfather, the 4th Earl of Fafton and Spiteville, or its piss-taking, tax-dodging poison purveyors like Jeremy Clarkson, just buying up land so they can avoid paying tax. I reckon my wellies have probably seen more action than those owned by a lot of those people at the head of that protest, and all I've ever used mine for was stomping around Glastonbury when I was still a nutter in the noughties. Strangely enough, one of my most enduring memories about the journey to Glastonbury the last time I went in 2016 was driving past field after field prominently displaying hoardings that farmers had placed there, or in many cases been paid to place there, saying vote leave and pleading with us to help them vote us out of the EU. I voted Remain by mail that year. Anyway, grudges aside, let's just have a little look at a few facts I'd like to share about Labour's policy in the farmers' protests that you definitely won't hear on GBBs, and that you certainly won't read in the Daily Mail or the Telegraph. Right after this. Hey, sorry to interrupt, just a quick interjection. The best way to help the channel and beat the algorithms is to hit the like button, leave a comment when we're done, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you really want to help the channel, then hit the join button below or make a donation through PayPal or buy me a coffee. The links are in the description box. It's all very much appreciated indeed. Thank you. Let's just have a look at some of the facts that I don't think a lot of these farmers in London had actually checked before they set off. Firstly, the vast majority of farms will see absolutely no impact whatsoever and will still be entirely able to pass on land worth up to £3 million, completely free of inheritance tax, no inheritance tax at all. If you are lucky enough to be the son of the late 4th Earl of Fafton and Spiteville, and you happen to inherit £11 million worth of farmland, you'll be given 10 years to, now brace yourself now, 10 years to pay your fucking taxes and contribute to the country that you live in, not be in a poverty-ridden wasteland. Plus, when you do pay, you'll find that farmers are actually charged just 50% of the rate that others are. The policy is actually aimed at protecting smaller farms and bringing an end to bastards like Clarkson buying huge amounts of land for no other purposes than tax avoidance. And yes, I know we made a programme about his farm, but anyone who's seen it can see just how seriously he actually takes it. He's hardly Bernard Matthews or the Jolly Green Giant, is he? Now, let's also not forget that the programme he made about his antics pretending to be a farmer probably sold for thousands of times more to whatever broadcast company he sold it to than any produce he ever made did. But not all of those protesters could just be obnoxious right-wing tax-avoiding knobheads like Clarkson, could they? Or are they? Or could they be something else entirely? Who knows? Because we have found out that we are a nation where people will literally take to the streets because of some bullshit that a right-wing knobhead in the media told them, haven't we? We have to face the fact that we now live in a country where thousands, tens of thousands, can be riled into action, violent action, by disinformation that is sometimes purveyed by actual licensed journalists, or even just some comforting lies and bullshit that Frank down the pub showed them on Twitter with his iPhone, you know, the one with the cracked screen and the bits of hay and cow shit on it. How many of those farmers were there because all they know or have been told was that Labour are attacking farmers by the media? Stormer the farmer harmer. Think, you know, headlines like that. I mean, they watch GB News, so, you know, they can be informed about all the woke nonsense going on. You know, they stay on top of that. And all of the papers that they see in the newsagents, they're all saying farmers should be angry. So surely there must be truth in it. And everybody in their social circle down in the slaughtered lamb is a Tory voter or a Reform voter. And it's just those bloody liberal lefties that vote Labour these days anyway, isn't it? I'm certainly not saying all farmers fit into that category. And I'm certainly not suggesting that the numbers of them in London might have been swollen by people, you know, acting under a general blanket of misinformation that we seem to all be forced to labour under these days. No, I'm just asking questions. But those vote leave signs in their fields certainly suggested an ability to be easily swayed by right-wing grifters, didn't they, if nothing else? How does your Brexit taste, farmers? It's bitter. I wonder how many would have not turned up at all if they'd just checked in with reality and actually looked at the policy and listened to what Labour was saying about it, instead of living on a diet of constant right-wing bile from people like Jeremy Clarkson and GB News. Sorry, G fucking BBs. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I'm not going to say a lot more about this because I'm not an economist and I'm quite shit at maths in general. But I know that the Daily Telegraph or shouty right-wing crackheads on Talk TV aren't going to convince me to feel sorry for people that own more than £3 million worth of land. The fact that a lot of these people simply buy the land to avoid paying tax, that's quite offensive. But there's another kind of arrogance that I've seen in the last few days as well that is almost more offensive. It's when they're asked why they don't sell any of this land and they say things like, they might build a council estate on it, or they might put wind turbines or solar panels on the land. No. Absolutely shocking disrespect for their own country and their own countrymen. These people aren't patriots, they're ghouls. Anyway, I'm not placing any bets, but I am kind of hoping to get to 3,000 subs by the end of the year. So have a quick check if you haven't subscribed. If you want to help out a bit more, there are links to PayPal, Patreon, the Buy Me a Coffee page and the join button and everything else all down below. Obviously, that isn't all I've got to say, but it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-ra-la. Do you think it might be time? She hasn't moved till about 2 hours. Oh, hello. Fix your face.